What's going on, y'all? I'm KM Best, and Marvel Snap just released a developer update that highlights the future of competitive Marvel Snap, ladder upgrades, matchmaking upgrades. The first thing that's coming soon is a new competitive mode called Conquest. Conquest is effectively competitive battle mode in a league format. So you can start in a bronze tier and work your way up to an infinite tier by beating 3 consecutive opponents. It is super cool. You queue up for a conquest match, they say, by choosing which league to compete in. You start in the Proving Grounds. There's also Bronze, Silver, Gold, Vibranium, and Infinite. The tickets to upgrade from the Proving Grounds to each of those are earned by winning a league series in the previous tier. So it's a leagued upgrade system for battle mode. It is a great addition to this game. One thing I am a little bit unclear on is if it's sort of like League of Legends, where you win some games and then you're in your promos, or if it's just you need to win a couple battle mode series. I'm not really sure on that right now. I'd love some further clarification, but they said they're looking at releasing this in June. So we are only a few months away from the release of Conquest, but that is not the thing that I'm the most excited for in this patch. Here's what I'm actually most excited for in this patch. Now, you know, in Conquest Mode, what they did, they added a couple of cosmetics, some cool rewards, but none of that matters if people can't get the cards that they want. And so their card acquisition improvements are a much needed help to a game that, in my opinion, is the biggest struggle it has is with card acquisition. So what have they done? First thing they did, they increased the amount of tokens earned on the collection track for people before completing Series 3. So what that means is now, it used to be when you completed Series 3, you'd start getting between 200 and 600 tokens instead of the 100, in replacing your card that you would have gotten. Now, all the token caches are going to be between 200 and 600 tokens, regardless of whether or not you've completed Series 3, it seems like. So there are, they did, you know, take a little bit off on the back end, though, because once a card series is complete, caches that would have contained a card from that series will now be replaced with 100 tokens. So what they did was, effectively, they took the reward that was going to Series 3 complete players, and they gave it to everybody, and then on the back end, they just said, all right, well, now, if you would have opened a card, you're only getting 100 instead. So instead of getting 100 out of your normal token caches, you get between 200 and 600, but when you finish a series, instead of getting between 200 and 600 when you would have opened a card, now you get 100. They basically front-loaded tokens. It's a good change, in my opinion. I'm in the position where my series are complete. I don't really mind that they just changed the sort of distribution for me. As long as new players can get into this game, I'm happy with this change. Now, one other excellent change that they made, choose your card. Series 3 cards are going to have their own section in the shop. Once per season, players who haven't completed Series 3 will be able to take one free Series 3 card. Awesome. Anything that gets more players more ability to play their games. In terms of immediate recommendations for me, Series 3 cards to look at, I think Sarah, Arrow, pending balance patches, of course, would be at the top of that. I also did release a video on my tier list of Series 3 cards to acquire. Obviously, the ones in the top tier would be the ones to target with your monthly free Series 3 card. I think this is a great change. The biggest problem Marvel Snap has is card acquisition, especially early in the game, especially in that bridge where you're just into Series 3, but you're not fully complete yet. Maybe you can't play all the decks you want to play yet. This really helps. I wonder if it'll help enough, but any help is good help for these players. Now, in addition, they said that this will be live with our next patch. So already they're doing as much as they can to alleviate the issues with Series 3 and with the transition from Series 2 into Series 3. This is, I think, my favorite change they made, and they made a lot of good changes, but this is the one that, if it pays off, is going to help the game stay alive. Next, we have the Token Shop Revamp. Their belief is that the Token Shop is an awesome way to target the cards you want, but that they think they can do it even better. So what they're doing is they're dividing the token shop into a couple different sections. This will allow players to target cards that they want in different sort of groupings. So for example, there's going to be a weekly spotlight. When a new Series 5 card is released, it goes to its own section. There's going to be no more content creators complaining about how they have to play the lotto in order to make content with the new Series 5 card. It's right there. With Series 4 and Series 5, there's going to be no Series 3 cards mixed in. You just get to see a Series 4 and a Series 5 card because Series 3 cards are now going to be their own little section. Now, Series 4 and Series 5 cards go there. The Series 5 cards stay in the weekly spotlight until they are added into that. And this is sort of the same thing as we currently have, just a little bit better. And finally, Ultimate Variants get their own sections. Ultimate Variants, I know people have complained, like, it's sort of iffy, right? Because people that want Ultimate Variants are like, I can never roll these. And the people that don't want Ultimate Variants are like, why is this taking up my chance to get a new card? Putting Ultimate Variants in their own sections, great idea. Go ahead with it. Big fan of this. These changes are expected by April. So this is not, the quickest turnaround here, but they're doing some pretty fast turnarounds, right? Like card acquisition is coming in the next patch. Conquest is coming in June. Token Shop is coming in April. We can sort of map this stuff out. So right now, we're going to be expecting the upgrade to the token acquisition. Then in April, we'll be expecting the upgrade to the Token Shop itself. And then finally, in June, we'll be expecting Conquest. But that's still not all. They also added some improvements to ranked mode. A lot of people, myself included, have been complaining about ranked mode, and these changes, I think, address most of the issues with it. They've made 3 major changes. The first is they're improving the matchmaking algorithm in a sense that they are just blocking off people to make ranks matter. So now, if you're below rank 70, you're never going to queue into somebody who's infinite. It's just not happening. And in order to address the issue of infinite players reaching infinite and then just tanking their MMR, what they're going to do is they're going to take a picture of your MMR when you reach infinite. You can't go below that MMR now for the purposes of matchmaking, so there's no more getting to infinite, playing a bunch of Agatha, beating up on low rank players when you're done playing the Agatha. That's done. Booster farming is no longer going to dumpster your MMR. I think that's actually pretty cool, honestly. One thing I do want to know is, does that change your matchmaking the next season? Because it says for the rest of the season, the MMR cannot fall below that value. I'm assuming that means, that it's going to use that MMR when it reseeds you, when they do the little soft reset of MMR rather than any other thing. I do want a little bit of clarification on that, but I assume that they're smart enough to avoid that pitfall. Now, the next thing they're doing is making it so infinite players can only be matched against other infinite players. I think this is just a static good change. I think it is definitely something I know people complain about. They love complaining like, oh, I got matched in this infinite player. That won't happen anymore. I also think that might help people in my position whose MMRs are super high by putting those infinite players hopefully in the same bracket as me, so I get to play more humans. I noticed they didn't say anything specifically about removal of bots. I am still waiting on that. I'm hopeful that the additional brackets are going to make it easier for me to play more humans, though, without me purposefully tanking my own MMR. I do wonder if the infinite MMR floor does remove my ability to tank my MMR in order to play more humans. I am a little worried about that, too. But hopefully, and luckily these are not things that affect basically anybody else. It's like me and like 5 other dudes. But hopefully they can get around to fixing the problems that affect me as well. They also said, we know there is more work to be done. We think the current journey to reclimb to a previous season rank is too difficult. To that end, we are exploring changes to how many cubes are required per rank, how many bonus cubes are granted, and potentially how much of a reset is incurred each season. So what they're doing right now, that sentence basically means those 5 bonus ranks that you get upon getting a rank, that might not be the permanent thing, but that's sort of the direction we're looking in. They also mention, I've complained a lot about how MMR is disjointed from rank. They say, we've seen a lot of feedback around matching by MMR, and why don't we simply match by rank? The team has been weighing the positive and negative of both of these options. In a pure match by rank situation, it can lead to an awful start of season experience. I can vouch for that. It sucks. As players are matching up against opponents that are far superior to them. However, we are exploring alternate ways of matchmaking to deliver a more satisfying overall experience, as there are some upsides to matching by rank. They have some ideas, and they're expecting to hear more from us soon. There's no details. There's no given specific time on when this stuff is happening. This is one that I think is a little more up in the air in terms of when it will be delivered to us than others, but I'm hopeful that it manages to make it to a good situation. Now, one more major update, at least for me, is that they're revamping Infinite Rank. What they say is the climb to Infinite Rank has been our peak achievement, and we're completely revamping it so your experience doesn't end at Infinite. Once players reach Infinite Rank, they're going to be separated into their own ecosystem that will highlight two important numbers. One is a skill rating score, basically your MMR. They say it's similar to your MMR, so it's probably not exactly that. And then the second is a leaderboard rank. So we're finally going to be able to go for number one Infinite. We're finally going to be able to actually grind that leaderboard. It's going to be super cool. I still think they need to remove bots in order for this to ever matter, but it will be super cool to find out how it goes. Now, the skill rating score is more like I think a personal thing as opposed to the leaderboard rank, but who knows? It seems like the leaderboard rank is just a measure of everyone's skill rating score. Seems good to me. I would expect that to just sort of look like, how Hearthstone does in their legend. You go for number one legend. That means you have the highest MMR on the server. Go nuts. Good change. Won't matter until they remove the bots, though. Now, there are a couple other things. Whenever they do one of these big development roadmaps, they talk about things that are happening soon, that they know are happening, and then they talk about things in development that may happen, or that they are working on, and then they talk about things that are in concept. So let's run through the in development and the in concept real quick. In development, they have a widescreen UI, please, smart decks, avatars and titles linked to the deck that you use, a personalized shop, and global matchmaking. The only one of these that disappoints me to see is that global matchmaking is this far away. I do wonder, since battle mode is global, I wonder if Conquest is going to be global. I'm interested to find that out, but I expect, based on how they're saying it, it's probably not going to be global until that in development hits. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most is the PC widescreen UI. As far as in concept, these are just things that they're working on, things that are existing more in the brain than they are in terms of being implemented into the game, but they're pretty cool. Guilds, collectible emotes, and card emojis, mythic variants, PC controller support, seasonal audio, and a test deck mode. Now, test deck mode deserves its own little highlight here. I know people have been clamoring for unranked mode. The Marvel Snap devs also know people have been clamoring for unranked mode. That seems to be what test deck mode sorta seems to be. What they say is they're considering adding a button to the deck editing screen that will instantly let you hop into a low-stakes game against the computer. Basically, they're thinking of giving you a little bit of a bot playground if you just want to feel out how a deck might play out for you. I do think one thing that if they implement this, they should think about is letting people try that with the Series 5 card on display. I know that a lot of, for example, in Genshin Impact, you get this very short little free trial of the 5-star character who's on the banner right now. I don't see why there's any reason you shouldn't get, a couple bot games against something using a deck with the new card in it. I don't see why there's any reason why that can't happen. I would think that would be something they should look at heavily, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I'm overjoyed about all these changes. I would say my favorite change is the token shop revamp and the card acquisition improvements. Anything to make it easier to get a full collection in this game. I do want everyone to let me know what your favorite change is, because I think there are a bunch of good options here. I know a bunch of the people that are going to watch it are going to say Conquest, but my thought process is there aren't going to be enough people to play Conquest if people start quitting because they can't get cards. And this makes it easier for them to get cards. So what are your favorite changes from this developer roadmap in Marvel Snap? Let me know in the comments. Remember, leave a like, leave a subscribe, hit that bell. all the cool things. This has been KM Best. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.